Thank you for viewing this YouTube archive of a Conscious Consumer Network broadcast. Please feel free to share it far and wide. Check out our weekly broadcast guide for weekly updates on scheduled broadcasts. Help keep us on the air by contributing to our network support fund. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or get in touch via email. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Good evening, everybody. We are coming to you live from CCN Studio here somewhere in the Netherlands. And we have wonderful in-studio guests. We are so delighted to have Lainie Liberty joining us from Project World School, as well as Miro and Katie, who have been in Europe experiencing all the wonders of this amazing land and doing the thing that they do, which is learning from experiential learning. So we want to talk to them a little bit about what they've been up to and what it is that they'll be doing next. So thank you very much for coming to visit us. It's really such a pleasure to have you in our studio, and wow, what a great day we've had so far.
Thank you for having us. It's such an honor to be here and to meet you guys in person. We've been connected for more than 1 year now, and to actually meet somebody in person, it dimensionalizes the relationship that we've already created, and I'm just so thrilled that we're here.
Yes, we're thrilled that you're here as well, and that we get to actually see the energetics and the relations and get to experience your stories firsthand. And it's really given me such a wonderful perspective into what it is you're creating with your projects. And we're, as you know, so supportive of what it is you guys are doing. And I can see why. You've got just beautifully turned out kids who are coming and going through these experiences and who are learning from traveling, meeting people, having the interaction and the visceral five sense reality, as opposed to learning from chalkboards and textbooks. And wow, just so impressed with what I've come to know of you, Miro, and of course of you, Katie. And you guys really are what changing the world is going to be about. It's educating kids at a grassroots level to think differently, to look at the world differently, to interact differently, and just the way you're going about it is just such a natural, organic learning experience. I'm just really in awe of it. Really envious. I want to come and join some of these retreats.
Well, actually, you should. You should. I think the main point is, normally on our show, For the Love of Learning, we're not always talking about what we do in our project. But the main point of what we do is we don't separate life from learning. And the beauty is, I've been granted the opportunity to become a learner once again. And I feel that freedom. Like every single day, he's inspiring me. And now that we've got my second child, she's only my child for 6 months. But, I'm inspired by both of them and their wonderment of life, too. If you've got a kid around you, grab it. Grab him, grab her. There's going to be total inspiration to learn and see the world in such a different way. So, children, adolescents, and young learners give us that opportunity to be present and to learn.
And this must, as well, being in the presence of kids, just give you a wonderful perspective of the way you engage and experience the world. Because obviously you're looking at it from the point of view that they are, living and learning the experience, and you go through it from that perspective with them.
Yeah.
So you're also involved in the total immersive learning, which for me says that there is no age limit to what it is you guys are creating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, the groups that you guys host, the mobile learning communities, are kids of all different ages put together, which is also one of the things I like, is because when you look at the way education is structured at the moment, it's really done from the production line mentality, from the industrial era. Like, for example, they say that the greatest thing that most kids have in common is the fact that they're perhaps born in the same year, so we put them through the same syllabus together. Thinking that that's the thing that most kids have in common, is the fact that they're all born in the same year, and that's why they all grew together, and that's why they all... Kids learn at different ages, different speeds. Some kids work better on their own, some kids work better in groups. And I think the education system has failed us, and what you're presenting here is, to me, a real, viable, tangible alternative that, for me, I can see works. Your kids are not like uneducated.
No, they're not.
Not at all. They're not falling behind, they're not socially decrepit or, losing out or unstable in any way.
Yeah.
And for me, I think that is actually so different to what happens in schooling, because a lot of the aberrant behavior really does get planted into the kids at the school level. The competition and the way the structure of the syllabus is set up and the pressure to do with exams, and taking kids out of that environment, allowing them to flourish in a natural, immersive learning experience has got to be one of the most humane things you can do to children.
I totally agree, and you brought up so many points, and we can go into every single one. I mean, you're talking about socialization. Socialization, the way that schools implement socialization is arbitrary. You would think that there must be some thinking behind that. Well, there is. It's about programming, and it's what you just said. There's no reason why somebody who is 10 years old needs to only speak to other 10-year-olds. And you're right, you brought up the idea of different learning styles. We all learn differently. Some of us learn viscerally, some of us learn through listening, some of us learn through experience. There's no one perfect way that across the board everybody can learn. So it's really about a system of indoctrination and stripping away, number one, your creativity, but your ability to think on your own. And really what it does is it disempowers the learner to have this love of learning, which is the one thing that we tap back into through these experiences. And through our retreats, we're really serving adolescents. And so that runs from 12 years old to 25. That's a huge age group. Would you ever think in your mind that a school would put a group of learners in that age range together?
No, school, they don't. Actually, when I was in school, they encouraged us only to communicate and speak to those girls in our levels. We were penalised for having friends in other years. It was not encouraged.
See,
what do you think of that? That's horrible. Oh my God. You have to be learning from people with different emotional, places in life. Oh my.
Levels of maturity.
Yeah, levels of maturity. I'm sorry that's horrible. And oh my God, that's shocking.
It's shocking. Some of the things that we've been subjected to in mainstream media and mainstream education.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
It's the same thing. It's all about indoctrination.
Yeah, it really is.
They are very cruel. It's very, very cruel. I think that it's more torturous. School to me was like prison. We had school uniforms, very strict. School was a case of they used to penalise us if we didn't adhere very strictly to wearing the uniform exactly 2 fingers above the knee. The socks had to be rolled 4 fingers above the ankle. You couldn't have your socks any lower than that. An unbelievable regiment mentality, which completely strips every single kid of their personal identity and gets them to acquiesce to this ideal that they create of you, which this little buttercup yellow dress as well that we had to wear. It was just so ugly. You wouldn't even wear that in your social time. Yeah, it's like this prison uniform, and we all wear the same thing. And, parents put unquestionable amounts of faith into educational institutions, just the same as they do into medical institutions. And we ignorantly hand our children over to these institutions to shape their minds and mold their futures. I mean, even just thinking of that is quite scary. Yeah. But ultimately, what they do at the same time is they destroy your spirit. They really...
Well, that's the purpose, right?
It's a rare few who survive institutional indoctrination with their true buoyant spirit intact. But I do believe the human spirit cannot be destroyed. We are ever so strong.
I totally agree with you. I believe from the time that I went to school to the way school looks now in the United States, I think it's got so much worse. And, I just had a recent comment from a friend of mine who is the same age as me and says, "Come on, Lainie, you survived school, I survived school, what's the problem?" The problem is there's a vast difference between the enforced indoctrination as a system now compared to when I went to school. I mean, I'm 10 years older than you, and by the way, in school terms, we could not talk to each other, obviously, because I'm older than you,
Yeah.
and like, you know, I'm like, what the hell? I mean, this makes absolutely no sense. A person who can question logic and question, you know, these sorts can be somebody who can come out of these systems with their minds intact. And I think the difference right now between the systems when I grew up and maybe when you grew up, but although we grew up in different countries, is right now they are so filled with so much fear-based programming that, you know, there's what we call schoolish thoughts. Not only do the children have to overcome the type of indoctrination that they're experiencing, it's reinforced by the fear-based cultural messages that the parents and everybody in society is being fed. And so now we've got this baseline paradigm of thinking that is fear-based, but it is so detrimental to the idea of a child learning. It is so detrimental to the creative spirit, and it's so detrimental to the individuality that you were talking about earlier, that, you know, I generally publicly do not say this, but I will say it here and now. If your kids are in public school, get them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys have flourished beautifully, having taken yourselves in a different direction than being educated through mainstream media and mainstream education. Let's talk a little bit about that. First off, I've got to Katie. Yeah?
Well, I've had a really interesting history with education and traditional schools and private schools and homeschooling and unschooling and world schooling, and now I'm actually on the path to going to college or university next year.
This year?
Well, I mean next school year, so 2016 to 2017. By my choice. Oh my God, there are so many. I've tried most of it, right? Public school, I hated. Nobody wanted to be there, and it was the worst. The worst. I left after half a year. I just couldn't do it. I actually was so bored that I overloaded myself on extracurriculars. I was class president. I had a job in 9th grade, working after school. I was running cross country and track, and I was taking the max amount of classes till I stressed myself out trying to think about college in 9th grade. And I was like, no, I'm over it. I'm gonna leave. So then I did the unschooling path for a year and a half. Then I like school. I like learning. So then I was like, I'll go to community college because people choose to be there, right? So the environment's a lot better, in my opinion.
How old were you when you went to community college?
Barely 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was really fun, actually. Lots of business classes and women's studies. I really, really enjoyed it. Until this year, my senior year of high school, I decided, why don't I just travel for the whole entire year? Why not? Let's do it. So I've been traveling with these two wonderful people, and also on a retreat in Colorado for the fall semester, I guess, of this year. But then I decided that I did want to try college. We'll see if I last past freshman year, because that'll be the longest that I've been in the public school system by choice. But I really am interested in trying to learn more about, just a higher education. I don't know, I'm interested in trying it, so we'll see if it works out.
And for those of you that are watching that are not from the United States, college is university for us, so it's the same, just to be clear. So she's going to university.
Off to university. Got a really small room to live in.
So what are you going to study when you go there?
Journalism, hopefully.
So she needs to be here and do internships with Mel and Vicky.
I'm working on it.
You're welcome. And
Well,
seriously,
thank you.
we need,
I appreciate
we
that.
are actually looking for interns.
Oh, I didn't know that. I will. That's fantastic. Good to know.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful.
And you, Miro?
Well, my experience with school, I only attended school until the 4th grade, and then afterwards we began our travels actually. And we only thought our travels would last 1 year, and it's been 7 years since then. So I haven't attended school in this time. And yeah, no, it's really great. School didn't work for me at all. And I really don't want to talk about school all too much and how it didn't work for me, so I'd rather talk about how over the last 7 years I've been able to really find my interest, and I've been able to really learn through my passion. And for me, over these really about 4 years now, my writing has been everything to me. So I love that I have had the freedom to pursue my passions and really, you know, do what matters to me.
Writing's obviously one of your interests. Where else do your
Definitely.
interests lie in terms of the subject matters in which you learn about?
See, I love writing anything in the topic of literature. I read a lot. I love mythology, but I also have an interest in plants and botany.
And, okay, we had a brief drop in the stream there, everybody. We're back. Miro was just getting started with his experiences, and I wanted to ask you, Miro, with regards to your interest in mythology, do you think that that has been inspired by your travels and actually getting to look at all the various interesting sites and ruins that you've seen?
Definitely, definitely. I would have to say being exposed to the Mayan mythologies and really to all the different cultures' mythologies has been my number one influencer kind of on the matter. Since then, I have studied a little bit of the local cultures that we've been involved with, but I've also studied more with the Greek mythologies and more with also Buddhist mythologies. So.
And it's interesting because mythology is not an area that it's very easy to get young kids interested in, because it's a lot of drawn out, detailed ups and downs and drama, and people looking at it from a textbook perspective often don't pick up on the necessary patterns that actually link all of these things together, which you get to experience firsthand. So you go from one temple and you see, oh, hang on, this one's got serpents on, and so is that one, oh, and so is that one. There must be something to this, you know, they can't just all be random, and you're actually physically able to discern the patterns for yourselves, as opposed to just having isolationist and limited perspectives of dominant culture textbook education.
Exactly.
Which for me is golden, because all of our education has been taught to us from the point of view of the dominant culture.
Definitely.
And that's limiting. Yeah?
History is written by the victors.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anthropology as well. When you read a mainstream media anthropology text, which I have done, particularly when I want to learn a bit about my own culture in South Africa, learn the truth about the natives, because obviously we were taught very unpleasant things about them as kids, because that's just the way it was then.
Right.
And when you read what they say about our native cultures and how they were unskilled and they, couldn't do anything, and how us as white men came along and taught them everything, and all of this, and culturalized them and made them civilized, and you read this in anthropological texts, and it's simply not the truth, because when you actually start speaking to the cultural leaders and the people like Dr. Credo Mutu, and he gives very detailed examples of how they had surgical instruments that were far more advanced than the colonial settlers. They were actually confiscated from them by the churches and declared as the devil's instruments because the Western people didn't know how to use them. And you start to learn that there's a huge amount of cultural heritage that's been withheld from us because we've been given a very slanted perspective of education, and it's damaged us. It's damaged how we engage the world. It's damaged it's given us hereditary prejudice. It's taught us all sorts of very destructive patterns and behaviors. And this is, for me, one of the beautiful things about unschooling is it's deprogramming from all of that. You know?
Such a good schooling.
Yeah. And you are obviously engaging in the process of world schooling at the moment. Where do you see yourself going? Like Kate is going off to try at university. What is like kind of next for you? You're gonna.
Well, a philosophy of mine is I don't like to plan too far ahead into the future. I like to have the freedom to be spontaneous. So if I want to go take a trip somewhere, I can easily have the freedom to go do that. But I definitely see myself the next 5 years traveling, really backpacking. I want to see more of the world. I want to experience it, as authentically as I can. So
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think you've done an amazing job with the project that you've created, because you facilitated, you've built a way in which you can facilitate both of your learning experiences through travel and that growth, and make it sustainable, whilst engaging with other people and bringing them into those immersive learning experiences. And when you look at, really take time to appreciate the true beauty of what you guys have created. It's just mind-blowing, and such a simple concept that you've made it. Sorry guys, we've got the gremlins tonight. What were we talking about?
Being able to be sustainable.
that's right.
Oh, no. One of the things I wanted to focus on with what you said there, Mira, is spontaneity. And that is one of the things that I think it's bred out of children in school. Is the ability to be spontaneous, but in being spontaneous, it's responsible spontaneous. I mean, you're not going to spontaneously jump off a high bridge and, smash a skull on the pavement or something. Spontaneity with intelligence.
Hopefully that's not what we're talking about.
Yes, but it comes back to the discussion we had earlier about freedom with responsibility. There is to a certain extent, yes, we do obviously need to change the way we think and be more broad-minded in our approach, but at the same time, not to the point where that is negatively impacting on anybody else, and also where we can do and take that which we're trying to create and move it to be positive for ourselves and for others, which is exactly the pattern I see with what you guys have done. And it's beautiful and brilliant in its simplicity. And I'm just so inspired, and you really do have the best mom ever. I'm so jealous. I wish you had been my mother, Lainie, because I tell you, we're going to come to one of the retreats with you, definitely. We're
going to make it happen. Before we sign off again, I want to talk about one thing, just very, very quickly. We are creating opportunities for adolescents. And there's a biological development that happens in the adolescent brain, which is why adolescents get a bad rap. Their frontal cortex is not as developed as an adult is, and the decision-making process is not always the best, right? It's just simply a biological function. However, socially, we've been socially manipulated to believe that teenagers are bad people and they make bad decisions, period. Therefore, the general public does not give teens the opportunity to make decisions. And so when you start empowering teens and let them know, educate them about their own biological development, and you let them in on this secret that this is where they are, this is the stage of their life, and you expose them to the world, and you introduce them to a concept of compassion, you're actually empowering the person, the teen, to grow into somebody that you're talking about, the person who makes good decisions, who doesn't jump off a concrete balcony and go splat. We're talking about spontaneity with responsibility because they're empowered and trusted. And I think we need to de-school our own thoughts about who teenagers are and what they can do.
Yeah, very much so. And it's not just about de-schooling, I think it's about retraining parents too, to a large extent, because there's a lot of old paradigm philosophies with regards to parenting, for example, that you've got to have control over your kids, which I think is actually more, I know from my own experience being someone who was very free-spirited, I had very controlling parents, and it crushed my soul.
Absolutely.
And that's not what you want to do, is create crushed individuals who spend the rest of their life having to deal with psychiatric issues as a result of what you did to them.
Exactly. The point. That is the point.
Exactly. The whole point is to turn out people who are actually well adjusted enough to the true nature of reality to be able to make it work, and be able to make it work on their terms.
Yeah.
Not succumb to the system.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well said.
Very well.
Well, you guys are well on your way there, so I think you're doing a great job at that. Is there anything else you guys want to add to this?
No, I think this conversation has been really fulfilling for all of us.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to following along with your adventures, and of course, a very big well done for your TED Talk in Amsterdam. You guys did so well.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
He was a superstar.
Oh, we were so proud. And it's interesting because mythology is not an area that it's very easy to get young kids interested in, because it's a lot of drawn out, detailed ups and downs and drama, and people looking at it from a textbook perspective often don't pick up on the necessary patterns that actually link all of these things together, which you get to experience firsthand. So you go from one temple and you say, oh, hang on, this one's got serpent sun, and so is that one, and so is that one. There must be something to this. They can't just all be random, and you're actually physically able to discern the patterns for yourselves, as opposed to just having isolationist and limited perspectives of dominant culture textbook education.
Exactly.
Which for me is golden, because all of our education has been taught to us from the point of view of the dominant culture.
Definitely.
And that's limiting. Yeah?
History is written by the victors.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anthropology as well. When you read a mainstream media anthropology text, which I have done, particularly when I want to learn a bit about my own culture in South Africa, learn the truth about the natives, because obviously we were taught very unpleasant things about them as kids, because that's just the way it was then.
Right.
And when you read what they say about our native cultures and how they were unskilled and they, couldn't do anything, and how us as white men came along and taught them everything, and all of this, and culturalized them and made them civilized. And you read this in anthropological texts, and it's simply not the truth, because when you actually start speaking to the cultural leaders and the people like Dr. Craig Mutwa, he gives very detailed examples of how they had surgical instruments that were far more advanced than the colonial settlers. They were actually confiscated from them by the churches and declared as the devil's instruments because the Western people didn't know how to use them. And you start to learn that there's a huge amount of cultural heritage that's been withheld from us because we've been given a very slanted perspective of education, and it's damaged us. It's damaged how we engage the world. It's damaged it's given us hereditary prejudice. It's taught us all sorts of very destructive patterns and behaviors. And this is, for me, one of the beautiful things about unschooling is it's deprogramming from all of that. You know?
Such a good schooling.
Yeah. And you are obviously engaging in the process of world schooling at the moment. Where do you see yourself going? Like Kate is going off to try at university. What is like kind of next for you? You're gonna.
Well, a philosophy of mine is I don't like to plan too far ahead into the future. I like to have the freedom to be spontaneous. So if I want to go take a trip somewhere, I can easily have the freedom to go do that. But I definitely see myself the next 5 years traveling, really backpacking. I want to see more of the world. I want to experience it, as authentically as I can. So
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think you've done an amazing job with the project that you've created, because you facilitated, you've built a way in which you can facilitate both of your learning experiences through travel and that growth, and make it sustainable, whilst engaging with other people and bringing them into those immersive learning experiences. And when you look at, really take time to appreciate the true beauty of what you guys have created, it's just mind-blowing, and such a simple concept that you've made. And because we're having so many technical gremlins tonight, we are going to end the show slightly earlier than normal, but we actually have guests to entertain and lots of fun to be had, so
Definitely.
we can't be boring old people behind the screens all the time, and we're actually going to go out and have some of those learning experiences now. So,
We are. Thank you for having us tonight.
you have no idea how happy I am to have you guys with us. It's so seldom we actually get to meet the people that we work with, because we've got broadcasters in 5 continents and we're stuck in the studio here. And so honoured you come all the way out to see where we're based and learn a bit more about how we operate and who we are, and what our intentions and outlooks are, which perfectly match exactly what it is you guys are doing, which is why we are so much in support of Project World School, and just so looking forward to seeing where it is you guys end up and what it is you do.
Thank you so much, and thank you. We are so supportive of the work that you guys, both of you, do here at CCN, and it's such an honor to be a part of this family. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Okay. All right then. I think we're going to end that one off. Sorry again about all the technical gremlins. This, of course, is a free and independent media network, so please feel free to contribute, support us with the energetic currency, or otherwise just share our work. We are always keen to hear from people, so get in touch by email, and I guess we'll say goodbye and we'll see you again.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning into CCN. This unique network is dedicated to free and independent media. CCN was created with the belief that information is the common heritage of all beings, which is why our live stream high-definition broadcast is easily accessible and free to view. If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Having produced over 1,000 shows in 2015, which are all archived on YouTube, We look forward to bringing you more groundbreaking, cutting-edge information in 2016. For more information on what is on, please check out our broadcast guide for weekly updates. CCM broadcasts in multiple languages and features some key voices of our challenging times who are all in pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world. CCM belongs to you, the people, and it is up to you all to keep this network on the air. Please contribute to the Network Support Fund or visit the CCN shop. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.